What's going on, y'all? It's time again to talk sports. This is the Guru Sports Perspective. That man is the Guru, Hugh Lee. And without further ado, the show is yours, sir. Kick it off.
All right. I want to first start off with some of the people who got cut just recently. Some really big names too. That's why I was surprised that they got cut, but then I figured they were cap casualties. One of them, according to Adam Seffler, that I feel like for sure that we needed to kind of look into was they planned on releasing Emmanuel Ogba. And I feel like he was a force when he was in Kansas City and when he left and went to Miami. I thought he was a huge access. I even can go back with him for when he played for the Cleveland Browns. And I feel like that defense was pretty strong, man. They always had a pretty decent defense. It was just the offense that had to catch up. But yeah, man, they cut him, man, and they saved him like $13.7 million, man. And with that being said, dead money would be 4 million. But I really feel like right now with them, they're getting together and they're trying to get something situated so they could keep their franchise quarterback. And I really still feel like too, they're going to try to keep Jalen Ramsey aboard because he only has another year on his contract. This year was fully guaranteed, so that was a blessing to him because he did end up getting hurt. But I still feel like they're going to have to try to do some more than anything. I think they're more focused on trying to keep their franchise quarterback right there in Miami. So, yeah, that was one of the things that happened as far as people getting cut. And then on top of that, his teammate was cut as well, which kind of was a head scratcher to me at first. But then I said, yeah, they're definitely jockeying to try to get some more money. And it's definitely all about um, Tua Tagovailoa because to get rid of those two players, especially when you get rid of one of the key cornerbacks, which I think is the top three cornerbacks in the game right now, is Xavier Howard. They ended up cutting him as well on that same day, trying to make move on that team. I really feel like it was a possibility that they were over the cap. But then when they cut him too, I just said, yeah, man, they're just trying to do what they feel was best for their team right now. It sucks when you're a cap casualty, but then again, somebody's trash is other team treasures, man. So you have Emmanuel Ogba out there, one of the better linebackers, Pro Bowl linebacker, and then you have, if not one of the top, if people will say the best cornerback on the market right now, going on with Xavier and Howard. And respect to Jalen Ramsey and Sauce Gardner and all them, I definitely still feel like he's up there with them, maybe even better. So that being said, too, man, that I was a cap casualty too, and they had to save a little money and spread some of the joy around for their quarterback. But it's been a lot of weird things that happened too. And one thing that I sent out that I seen that you had like a wild expression on Facebook. And when I say it, it's gonna make your teeth cringe a little bit. The UCLA hiring of Eric Bieniemy, and I was disappointed with that too as well. About that in a couple minutes. I want your thoughts on the outside linebacker, the Pro Bowl outside linebacker, Emmanuel Ogba. How do you feel about them releasing him and then that same day getting rid of their top cornerback, Xavier Howard?
You got to remember when we get to this part of the season, right after Super Bowl, and we trying to get things set up for next year. When they make these cuts, it's usually one of three reasons. I think one, because bottom line, your production does not equal the money we paying you. Plain and simple, you got to go. Two, we want you, but we can't afford you at this price anymore. And the reason why is because we got to pay other people. And then three, we have seen your play. It is not equal to what we have paid you. We want you back, but just not at this price. So those are the things that I think about when some of these cuts are made. Um, I look at the performance of that person because NFL is very much a what have you done for me lately league. If you are a person of that caliber and you have done the work, I think at that point they must pay you. Period. If they feel like you are not of that caliber, then they're willing to play around with you. Howard is kind of like on that fringe of, okay, you've done decent, but we can't overpay you because we got to pay Tua. We got to pay our wide receiving core. We got to pay the running backs. We more of an offensive team. We need defense, but we're not willing to pay what other people are willing to pay. I think that's the case with this one. In other cases, I think some of it is like, look, we just gonna make room. You do okay, but you're not good enough for us to pay you that type of money and still have to pay these other folks. I think that's what's going on with that one. As far as the BN thing goes, I think we really got to just be honest with ourselves, Hugh. That dude just not head coach. He has had over 16 different interviews in the last 5 seasons, and nobody took him on, including an interview here with the Lions. Something ain't right with that dude. Plain simple. Maybe college is the best move for
I
him.
still feel like Xavier Howard is worth that money. I just feel like when you got two guys that's that expensive, when you have him and Jalen Ramsey, and you still want to try to keep him, but then you're still trying to pay your actual quarterback. I still feel like they're going to try to make my man's take a pay cut, Jalen Ramsey, which I definitely believe he won't. But getting him was real pricey anyway, meaning that yeah, we like you, Xavier Howard, but hey man, if we can get Jalen Ramsey, man, we feel like that'll be a good thing for our team moving forward. But then it backfires because, like you said, you got to pay Waddle, you got to pay Tua, and then you got to see who else need to be paid. And right now, it's Tua's time. You might as well pay him now before he gets too pricey in the future. But yeah, it's just unfortunate, man. Like I said, Caps do more than him not being talent because they save 18.5 million for cutting him and 7.4 million in dead money. But I still feel like, yeah, you're a good player, and we feel like we love your talent and you're talented. But man, we don't think that we could keep you for how much you're getting paid. We could cut the loss right now and move on, and then it's unfortunate, man. This draft right here is coming up too, and it's a lot of good cornerbacks and defensive players in there that they might be able to get. But you like you said, that's just part of the league. And as far as Eric the Enemy go, it's unfortunate, but I don't see him really being nowhere like in the NFL as a head coach right now. So I think, like you said, going to UCLA, improving that team chances, or even getting them deep into the playoffs, and showing off his skills can possibly still get him back in the NFL. But right now, he needed a breath of fresh air because it was just unfortunate for him too. You're under one of the best offensive minds in the game, and Andy Reid, and then you turn around and try to improve the Washington team, who actually got worse when you got there. So it was just bad fortune for him, man. And that's all I can really
Well, see, here's
say.
the
And
thing.
that's
Was it
why I
really
see
bad fortune,
him.
Hugh? Understand, from my understanding, he wasn't fired in Washington. He left. He chose to leave Washington. They were willing to take him back on. He the one who made the decision to leave and go to UCLA. And not to mention the fact that he's going to a squad where he's not going to be the head coach. I thought that's what you wanted. Like I said, I think the more we look into it, the more we got to understand some people, they just not cut to do what they cut to do. And I think that's where we at with the enemy. He just wasn't meant to be no head coach, man.
I don't really have too much to say about it because when it comes down to it, I mean, if he would have been right now, it would have been proven, or he definitely would have made enough of an impact. Because it was weird how the 2 years they kept him when he had the coach offers, and then he pulled away, and then that last year he was there. They made the playoffs, but then they end up losing in a conference championship, and then they actually had moved on from him afterwards, and everything just went downhill from there too, man. And that's what I believe is the situation with him. And like you said, man, only thing I could do is just wish him the best of luck as a coordinator, and I hope that he can revive his career from there. But
I mean,
moving
because
on,
bottom line, we can't play these no more when it comes to be enemy. Look at what happened this
yep,
season. How many African American coaches got hired in this particular set? We had at least 3 new new head coaches that's African American. So it's not an issue of they not hiring black coaches no more. They just not hiring him.
I want to discuss to some of the people who've been franchised. Ian Rappaport once again reported that, and you know this too by now, T. Higgins is going to be staying with the Bengals. I don't know for how long. They had until March the 5th, but they decided to try to do that move. I'm thinking, what are they going to do right now? Are they going to try to just keep him under the franchise tag, or would they resign him to the team? But at the same time, it's either going to be like pick your poison. You're going to have to choose between him and Jamar Chase. And in this case, right now, if they got him locked up for another year, which I believe the franchise tag for the wide receivers right now, I'm just giving an estimate out there, 21.8 million for the franchise tag for him, and that's not a bad payday. But I know people want to be insured for their future. They have to July the 15th to figure out what's going to happen with him, and we'll take it from there.
They gave him the franchise tag. That's what he gonna play for this year. Ain't gonna be no long term deal for T. Higgins. Basically, they went with the best move they could do. They looking at the window. We're gonna try to win this year. If that don't work, we're going to replace T. But we keeping Jamar. So for the time being, let's see what we got with this and go from there. Cincinnati, they're not trying to spend
That's
no money for real.
Nah. I feel like right now the best thing for them is to keep everybody in order. But yeah, and it's unfortunate T. Higgins gonna have to leave. But then I think a smart thing they did though is remember when they signed Tyler Boyd, and we was like they signed Tyler Boyd. Okay, that's good, I guess. But they still have him as insurance too. I mean, I don't feel like he's as good as T. Higgins, but at the same time, you can't keep T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and all those guys afloat. You figured that one of them was going to leave, and I definitely feel like I said, T. Higgins is better than Tyler Boyd to me, but financially, the weakest link is going to be T. Higgins because he's going to want to get that money, and he can't get his money before Chase get his. That's just the bottom line. That's just common sense right now, in my opinion.
Who is the franchise in Cincinnati?
Joe Burrow,
Who is his boy?
Jamar Chase,
And there it
from
is.
school.
And there it is. Enough said.
How do you feel about some of these guys as far as the prospects not going in and doing a lot of the activities? I feel like right now, like they said, I've heard rumors that well, they basically saying right now Marvin Harris Jr. is not going to really do anything as far as do any drills. He's going to have the meetings and stuff, but I don't think he's going to be doing too many drills. I don't think he's going to do them at the combine or even really at the pro day neither.
And if I'm him, I wouldn't. We know what we got with him. That's a given. Truth be told, he probably the best prospect in the draft, not named Caleb Williams. Let's be honest.
And this is what I like about this year too, is because of the fact is when I name some of these players and say who's not going to do any drills, most of them's going to be in that same bracket. And he was one that I felt like he didn't have to prove anything like some of these other prospects because we saw it in the time that he played in Ohio State. And because they were saying something similar too, they basically said Jaden Daniels will be among one of the a few of the quarterbacks who's not going to throw. We already figured that it was going to be him and Caleb Williams, and they're not going to really do any throwing. But at the same time, I think that they're not going to do any on-field workouts or anything. I don't know for sure if Caleb Williams is going to do a pro day. Neither he possibly might, but I doubt it. I'm not even sure if Jaden Daniels is going to do the same thing too, because like I said, when you projected to be one of the top five, it wouldn't even be necessary. So, do you think? And this was the question I want to ask: is that taken away from what the players trying to do, or what they're trying to get invested in this NFL scouting combine?
No, because the scouting combine really should be for the players that's on the margin, for the players that we don't know quite so much about, for the people that went to the CTUs and the EMUs and all of that, where, okay, they have some of the skills, but how do they compare to basic person A? The top 10 picks, if they basically say, "Hi, I'm here, I'm interested," that should be enough. Okay, remember now, we in the day and age of NIL. Them top 10 players that's already gonna be in the top 10, they already got money. They not poor. Hell, Caleb Williams has made over $10 million in NIL money in the last 2 seasons. If I'm him, I'm not doing nothing to draft day. Nothing. No thing. Nothing I'm not gonna get paid for at least. Same with
Yeah,
Harrison.
it makes. And I feel like right now, what I believe they make so much now of the scouting combine and the pro days, you're not going to see a lot of those guys do both. I feel like that's what's give me more room to say they need to start inviting a lot more of these kids who are undrafted and getting more people so to get them some exposure. Because if your guys, the top guys that you feel like the top 10 prospects are not going to be in the combine or doing their pro days because they already feel like they're locked in the first round, why not pull out and try to do something more or less like for the undrafted guys and try to do more for some of the prospects who, may have hurt themselves and still trying to recover from that and try to, give reassurance of who their name is and to help to rise their stock. I feel like they need to do a better job of that. That's just my
One more
opinion.
thing, Hugh. Here's something you ain't thought about. Remember now, truthfully, we have two leagues. Remember, we still got NFL, but now we also got the UFL. So maybe you're not quite good enough to make the NFL, but you show some promise. They done seen what you got going on in the combine. Remember that UFL starts in like another month or two. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be picking several people out of that combine to say, hey, you probably not gonna make the NFL, but you should try out here and we'll go from there.
Because I really feel like them making it now the UFL and they merged together is really going to help things. Because remember, at first we were hearing that the XFL was interested in merging with someone, and we thought that they were going to merge with the CFL, but I don't think the CFL wanted to agree to those terms, and that's why we're at where we're at right now. Because the USL and the SFL separately wasn't really nothing to even really, raise your eyebrow over. But putting them both together definitely seemed like that'll make more of an impact.
Especially when you consider who's running things. The Rock, his name is money. Let's be honest about it. The fact that he is the person basically running things is going to bring more eyes to that particular league.
I'm about to hit you with something too that you possibly know, and I just want to throw this out there for pride. So whenever he chime in, right now, he is the person who the owner of TKO and WWE, and TKO is the father company of WWE. So yeah, man, it's funny to see that a company that he once, was in and wrestled for, and now he owns it to be an owner of the UFC and WWE, that's pretty huge, man. So yeah, when you say that money, man, yeah, that money's out there because now he got the UFL, the merger, and he got two of the biggest name companies right now. When you look at entertainment, the wrestling business, and then the UFC is basically the real life sport of that mixed martial arts. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Right. And there's other collaborations that's been out there that he might work with. Uh One of the rumors I heard is him and Shaq might be coming up with some things to work on later on down the line. And remember, Shaq is running things over there at Reebok in terms of the basketball division. Perhaps they come up with some things to where they become the licensing partner of the UFL. That would be very interesting and probably very lucrative for both of them.
Definitely will. That'd be pretty good, man. Have Reebok as one of the main sponsors. Yeah, I would definitely look forward to that. There's a lot of good things going on, man. And I'm just glad that you have more minority people who are doing things of this nature, even though I don't want to put us in a box like that. But to have Rock and Shaq, and then you have Allen Iverson, a part of Reebok as well. I think that's
Right.
really good moves.
I agree.
You said this earlier, and I laughed, and I was like, "Man, I believe this gonna happen because of this dude cost a lot of money." But at the same time, he played and did really good last year, man. So teams are still interested. But man, don't be surprised if your man's Khalil Mack end up on the move this offseason, man. I think that with him and his money this old, I don't think that they can save too much for keeping him on that roster right now. And then, you got Jim Harbaugh over there who's going to construct things and mold it into his nature and what he wants the Los Angeles Chargers to be. But, after him having them 17 sacks, teams are going to be interested. But they're making this move and cutting Khalil Mack right now. I still feel like they would save 20 plus million, in their cap space. So I definitely feel like he'll be on the move soon. But do you feel like just as much as they're trying to make this move with Khalil Mack, that it should be some say too about trying to ship Joey Bosa out of town, not disrespecting him, but as long as he's been in the league, man, he's been having more injuries than anyone. At least I could say Khalil Mack was here most of the season because those 17 sacks, he got a lot of that earlier in the season. And we haven't really been seeing Joey Bosa, man. Sometimes I didn't even know if he was playing in the games, because he played like a few games and then he out a few games. I've never seen a consistent season where Joey Bosa played at least half the games or even close to playing all the games.
If Joey Bosa is healthy, he probably a better player than his brother. I'm gonna be real honest about that. Second of all, it's a
And
pick your
that's fact.
poison type situation because in the end, with Harbaugh coming in to be your head coach, you know his primary concern is going to be the offense. You know there's certain types of offensive players that man's going to want to have on the team, and you're going to have to pay them. Offensive players overall tend to make more money than the defensive players. Sad truth of the matter. You got to save money somewhere. There it is. As far as Khalil Mack, of course he's gonna have a job somewhere in the league, and ideally you want to put him on a squad where he ain't got to be that guy. He ain't got to be that guy next to that guy. You want him to be a strong third or fourth option. So you want to put him on a team like the Rams, a team like the Lions, a team like Chicago. Although I'm pretty sure he wouldn't go back to Chicago. But you want to put him somewhere where okay, you ain't got to be the main one. You're not gonna get the double teams. You're gonna be the person that's gonna benefit from the person getting the double teams. That's where I see him going.
How do you feel just recently the Rams made a move. It was real low key, but I thought it was a really good move from them. We expected them to be like one of the worst or close to the last teams, but for them to gel and play so well with the draft picks they had, it wasn't like they had a first round draft pick. A lot of their picks who played well this year was like in the fifth round and down. So I have to give respect to people like the Puka Nakuas and some of the guys they had on the D line on that team because I didn't expect for them to come out and make an impact so soon. But this one person who I was going to talk about was a former Kansas City Chief who went over there and made an impact over there, and he definitely made it known. They're going to sign wide receiver Demarius Robinson to a 1 year, $5 million contract just to stay. And they don't really got that much money to be kicking around. They got cap problems right now and they're over the cap. But to keep that guy around, man, that's big, man, to know that he's a part of their future plan. So I'm pretty interested in seeing what they're going to do because all I really still feel like they need on that roster now is just a couple more defensive guys, especially on the edges, as far as the back end. I mean, like the cornerback play. But to sign him, I really thought that was good because I feel like watching some of them games this year, he actually earned it.
The window on the Rams goes down to two people. You know who those two people are? Aaron Donald, and of course the quarterback Matthew Stafford. However long you maintain those two people, that's what your window is with the Rams. I say they got 2 more solid years to figure this thing out and get another ring. So whatever they need to do that and figure out the salary cap, that's the route they should be going.
It's rumors coming around too right now with the Rams. That's why I brought them up, that they're saying that it's a possibility that they're still kind of worried right now because they're not really sure what's going to happen with Aaron Donald. They knew about him talking about the retirement last year, but yeah, right now they're trying to negotiate, doing what they could to keep that man around. So we'll definitely hear more from that, and I will keep you posted.
Well, Aaron Donald been playing this game for a couple years now. With I'll retire, I'll do it. But then somehow, some way, they figure it out. Sooner or later, it's gonna be some fire with that smoke.
How do you feel about Khalil Dorsey?
All righty then. Hold on, good people. We'll be back
They
momentarily here.
said that he was one of the better guys on the team. They said that he was one of the better special teamers in the game right now, and they just basically wanted to reward him for his good play. And that's one thing I appreciate now when it comes to, the Lions and wanting to keep people around.
The Lions have something they haven't had ever. They have a culture, and people that fit that culture are going to be people that they look out for and they contend with in a particular way. He definitely seems to be a key part of that culture. So that is why they have made maybe the highest paid special teamer in the NFL, because he is a key part of the culture that they want to continue to build in Detroit.
Yeah, I apologize. I definitely apologize for that. E, not trying to cut you off, but you're right. It was Jalen Maven, not Khalil Dorsey. Unfortunately for him, they gave him the boot, man. They cut him yesterday. I meant to say Jalen Maven. I'm definitely glad you appreciate you cleaned that up for me. But I feel like he was worth them 2 years. And sorry for cutting you off, though.
Oh no, you good. You actually kind of blanked out and then blanked back in for a minute, so you didn't even see that. But no, I knew who you was talking about. Like I said, I like him because he is a good special teamer, obviously, and he is good in backup substitution type role. I don't like him to be one of the core linebackers. I don't think he plays well when you do that with him. But for what you need him for, he serves a good purpose.
How do you feel about what's going on with Russell Wilson, man? Before I get to that and ask you this question, I just felt like they were really shady, man. If I'm not mistaken, it was like 8, 9 games into the league year when they called him, and they were winning. I just think they came off a win over Kansas City, and I'm not even gonna really give them full credit for that because and I know Patrick Mahomes had the flu, but anyway, they called him after that win and said, "Man, we need you to take out your injury clause in your contract, your guaranteed money with your injury, and we want you to take that out of your contract right now. And if you don't take that out of your contract, then we're going to bench you the rest of the year." Why isn't the NFL looking into that for one, if that was the case? And I don't feel like Russell Wilson is a guy who will lie about that. I believe he's a stand-up guy. But that's one thing that bothered me. For one, they didn't really make anything of it or even looked into it. But at the same time, man, it really doesn't matter if he stay or go because he's going to get that 39 million anyway, regardless of the fact. But they got to figure out what they're going to do soon because if they don't keep him on that roster, man, it's before March the 17th. They got to make a decision because if they don't, he'll be getting another 37 million guaranteed in 2025, which that probably won't be the case. I already figured that he's gone, but why string him along like this, man? And why play all these goofy games?
Well, here's the thing. I don't have no problem with how Russ is playing it. He is basically telling everybody, "Yeah, I want to be here. I would love to be here and work it out." And I think it's some good stuff here. I mean, because think about it. When you look at that overall record, they did play some good football at certain parts of last season. And he was the key reason why that was the case. Second of all, most of that money, like you said, is guaranteed. Russell is in his mid 30s now. I mean, he done made his money. He didn't won a Super Bowl ring. He may be what fringe Hall of Famer, perhaps. At this point, he's a dad. He has a beautiful wife. She is an entrepreneur. She's making money. It ain't no big deal to him at this point. I think he would be all right if he was the backup. He would be all right if he was the starter. His thing is, I got the money. I'm gonna go on and make it. Somebody pointed out to me, one of the talking heads, that okay, perhaps he wants to stay because at this point in his career, he don't want to start over. It don't make no sense that, yeah, granted, whatever team he ends up on probably ain't going to pay him much because they're going to get paid from the Broncos. But in the same token, you still have to deal with all the criticisms. Okay, I see why Denver benched you now. Okay, I see you not quite as good, so on and so forth. I see that, okay, we should just have you mentor the new dude and then go on and send you about your business. At this point, Russ ain't got nothing to lose. As far as Denver go, they in a boat that a few of these teams in where, okay, this decision need to be made. Y'all on the clock. Y'all might as well go and handle this business.
You know what's funny to me too about that whole ordeal, like you said, wherever he go now, it really doesn't matter financially. He could take veterans minimum, man, and he could play either to try to fight for a starting role or be the backup, man. He still got, a good situation going on right now. What I believe he should do right now too is hopefully a contender or a team that's like on the bench, try to get him because I still feel like he have a little bit of fight left in him. But what's crazy to me too is this: he just think about it. We all thought when he went to Denver at first that it was going to be some good going on once he got there. He just had to build that chemistry with whoever the coach was. We were surprised that after 1 year, what happened with Nathaniel Hackett. But then, you get a proven coach like Sean Payton over there, and those two just didn't really get along. And then, do you think about, man, like if he just wasn't being to the point where he was so selfish and feeling like he wasn't getting the opportunities that he should get? Because I know a lot of times when they were saying things like when it came to Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, the actual freedom that they have with the offense and the freedom and the things that they can do with their team, that it was a little bit of envy with Russell Wilson, and he was saying he wished he had that type of trust in his organization. But it seems like soon as they Russell Wilson wanted to cook when he was over there in Seattle, and they felt like they were still putting the training wheels on him. Once he finally got the opportunity, things didn't work out the way he thought it would. And then once he got traded, it looks like, man, maybe it was more the system than you at the time when you complained about not having the grounds to do a lot more with your football team.
I just think it would be real interesting if you brought in a Russell Wilson to be the backup to your up and coming franchise quarterback, your Drake May, your JJ McCarthy's of the world, to where, okay, you had the option of going ahead and let Russ play and let them learn behind him, or basically let them play and have Russ kind of tutor them along the way. Because at this point, Russ don't seem to care one way or the other. But remember, Denver also has to consider the fact that they gave up a lot to get Russell Wilson.
They did, man. So cut him down.
Basically, you want to just use that 1.5 season, say charge it to the game and charge everything we gave up as well? I don't think so.
Because they gave up a backup quarterback who I never really had faith in anyway, because he wasn't good in Denver anyway. But when he went to Seattle, it was like you gave up that guy. You ended up giving up him, Noah Fant. You gave up some draft picks. You gave up like really solid defensive end. They gave up a lot, man. A lot of draft capital and some okay players. I'm not putting Drew Lock in that category, but Noah Fant at one point was decent. I don't really know because we don't watch too many Seattle games unless we facing them, which it seems like we always face them. But yeah, man, I'm pretty interested in seeing where that role is going to be. How did you feel, E, when they said that the new cap, and we figured it was going to be high. I thought it was going to be like 245 million at first, man. But then they end up saying it was going to be record breaking 255.4 million.
NFL making that dough, y'all. Don't y'all see this? And you could thank people like Taylor Swift because the NFL, in terms of the television audience, best television audience it ever had last year, including having the number one all-time watch show in the history of television. Do you not understand the scope of that, Hugh? It's been over 70 plus years of TV. And last year's Super Bowl was the most watched show ever. Ever.
You know what I like about all that too, when it comes to just what you just said, the increase on everything that they put on here, man. They put 74 million per club payment and player benefits and performance-based pay and retired players, man. That made me happy to hear because we heard a lot of sad stories, man. I seen the documentary. What was my man's Brian Gumble, man? It was something to where the guys, man, wasn't even really getting that much money when they retired. It was two best friends on the team, man, who didn't. One of the guys' head was so messed up from playing football, he didn't even know who his best friend was. Wife showing him a picture, he still couldn't connect. And it was just a sad situation. I don't know if Brian Gumbel meant to do that on purpose to make the NFL look bad, but it was sad, man. And to now know they're giving that money to the retired players and basically a 30 million jump due to what was going on. And then now you got the full repayment of the pandemic years and the increase in media revenues that goes along right with it. They was going to have to finally pay that. They couldn't make no excuses no more.
Right. I mean, we go back. I mean, take us back to the writer's strike last year, where the thing was we should be getting more money because y'all getting more money. Y'all got all these streaming platforms,
Yes.
y'all boost money. And so keep that in mind when we talk to NFL. NFL ain't just on CBS, ABC, and the Fox no more. It's on YouTube. It's on Prime Video. It's on. I think it's gonna be on Netflix at some point. I mean, this money just coming out the wazoo everywhere. And then of course you getting all the money from the franchises that are getting the sponsorships for the uniforms. You getting all the money from the uniforms and all the stuff from NFL.com. Outside of basically when it comes to all the major sports, the NFL makes the most money, period. So yeah, you gotta handle bigs.
Man, did you hear about the disrespect? And then, when I had that on the Guru Perspective when I first started doing the show, when I discussed are the running backs getting any love? Really, or are they not getting the love that they deserve? Adam Schefter reported recently that they said the Cowboys are not expected to use franchise tags on Tony Pollard, nor is the Giants with Saquon Barkley, nor is the Titans with Derrick Henry. The Chargers with Austin Eckler. And they said the Raiders just decided recently, too, that they're not going to franchise Josh Jacobs, although the two sides are still hoping that they can come together to an agreement. So that's the only one who seemed like they're really in negotiations, and everybody else like, man, we're not even going to try to negotiate with you, man. If we could keep you and we find a way to keep you, that's good. But if not, man, we'll figure it out.
I think we got one or two problems gonna happen. One, we basically gonna have a league where being a running back is something you're gonna do for 5 years and then charge it to the game, or we're gonna have a league where most of your running backs ain't just running back. It's gonna be running back slash tight end slash halfback slash wide receiver. In other words, you're gonna have a lot of people like Debo in the league to where okay, you get paid because you're not just a running back, you're a receiver, you're a blocker, so on and so forth. And it's crazy because I think about check this out. For those of y'all who like Madden, most of the better Madden players, if you basically watch them on Twitch or on TikTok or whatever, they usually make out well because they utilize the running back. If they are doing that, and remember, EA Sports motto is it's in the game. If it's truly in the game, why are they not recognizing it's in the game? Granted, we don't have the running backs like the Barry Sanders and the Eric Dickersons of the world anymore. Well, basically, Any other time they get the ball, they can take it to the house. I don't really see too many running backs like that in the league anymore. But still, when you look at what they do as a whole and what you're trying to pay them for that, and the fact that they probably get hit more than damn near anybody else on the field, it ain't fair, man.
Remember, we was even talking about the damn punters at one point getting more than them, man, per year, man. So that's where it came to now with the running backs. And like Tony Pollard, man, and it's no disrespect. It just didn't seem like he had it. He basically excelled when you had Zeke in front of him, man. And then when Zeke was gone, he didn't, step up to the occasion. But then, you got guys like Saquon Barkley, man, who really looked and made my man's Daniels look good, Daniel Jones. But then you got to block, you got to catch, and you got to do all that stuff, man, for them to just look at you like after 4 years, maybe even 5, if they give you that option, that you could just move on, man. I think a lot of it, too, is just the productivity of the running backs versus, let me put it this way. Kansas City had drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the 32 overall pick. And then things didn't work out. That first year, he played great. The second year, he played pretty decent. But it seems like he just couldn't keep it up. He's a small frame dude. Like, he's a big dude in stature, but you like 5'8", 5'9". But, that's just a gruesome position, man. But here comes the 7th-round draft pick, Isaiah Pacheco, man. It seemed like when he took that job, he didn't ever look back, man. And now they looking at it like, man, we can look for a running back in the later rounds. We don't got to worry about it getting him in the first round. This year, Bijan Robinson and our guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, was just very special. And it was once in a blue moon that you're going to see these guys get drafted that early. But for the most part, I'm definitely glad that they invested in him because he was everything that we thought he'd be. But then a little more. We already knew about the brother. We seen him play before. And we believe Bijan Robinson going to get better now that they have a coach that I feel like who would, want to do better by him. But I can't even dog out Arthur Smith neither, man, because he was a rookie and he didn't want to give him too much of a load. But at the same time, I still feel like that's rare to have those guys come out that early and play and perform that good.
Most of those running backs that you name are going to leave the team that they were on. And 2 of those running backs are going to end up in 2 key places. And based on that will determine the future of the second time around running back. That would be one of those running backs is going to end up a member of the Buffalo Bills. You know that. I know that. And one of those running backs is most definitely going to end up a member of the Dallas Cowboys. You know
Tony's
that. And I pretty much could almost guess that big dude, that real big dude, the former Alabama running back, probably going to be the one to end up in Dallas. And
I'm definitely believing so.
I definitely see him getting paid by Jerry Jones. And what he gets paid, I think that's going to set the market for what running backs make on their second time around moving forward.
Yeah, man, it's going to be crazy because I'm definitely looking and I'm locked and loaded, man. Like I told you, man, I feel a little bad. I don't know if it was a contradiction or if it was not, just wasn't really paying attention at the time. I didn't see the silver lining that the combine was coming up. And I'm not even talking about the combine and, the people running and what they did as far as athletes. I can really care less about that. I just think that's a, show athletes with underwear on the underwear Olympics, like they call it. But it's just the underneath stuff, the stuff in the trenches, like the meetings that people have, like how Chicago got all that draft capital for giving up what they did. They made those negotiations then. And now I'm hearing rumors that Amon-Ra St. Brown is, they're negotiating his new contract. And it's a lot of things that goes on there, and it heats up once you get closer to the free agency. So I like to hear and see those things. And that's why I kind of pay attention to the combine. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that you need to know, and things that are happening, everything in there. While I'm focusing on is running and all the activities, they're getting their stuff together and getting ready to make these deals and these contracts. And I guarantee you a lot of these free agency deals and stuff, man, it probably be talked amongst, not too much, but briefly, because you know it's about to be within a week, you know. So yeah, I think a lot of that stuff goes on there too. Kind of like we was talking about. That's like their hot stove for their winter meetings in the combine. So I look at that versus everything else they're doing in the trenches, and I look beneath that and I say, man, this is where everything's really starting to heat up because you hear the rumors leaking out anyway.
And it really depends, I think, on what team you are and what your needs are and are not. Basically, if you're a team like take New England Patriots, they pretty much could use whatever at this point. I think
Hmm.
it may be two or three people on that entire squad where okay, we got to try to retain them. Anybody else we could start over with. Then you had teams like the Lions or the Chiefs where they just need a few extra little pieces and they good to go. So depending on what your needs are, whether it be in the draft or free agency, that is the mindset going into it right now. I really like the fact that the Lions mindset seems to be okay. Our free agents, the ones that fit this culture, we got to sign them. And that includes people like Jared Goff and Panay Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're looking to sign them now, even though they have a year or two on some of those contracts. We want them in the door because we want to have this thing long term. This is a young team. We want to keep them together. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Chiefs are like, we want the dynasty. We want to be the only team ever to win 3 in a row. We got to do what we need to do to make that happen. So we got to retain Snead. If we got to do what we got to do to either replace Jones or sign Jones, we got to do what we got to do to get more weapons to our guy Mahomes. We gonna handle business because we trying to do something here.
Because it's going to be a pick your poison with them two, I believe. Right now, I'm glad you mentioned Snead too, because we know that he's on the franchise tag, but they're saying they're willing to trade him if you know, an offer comes up that they won't refuse to try to keep draft capital. And of course, you know, the release of Marquez Valdez Scantling. He played well when he needed to, like going down like to the trenches of winning the Super Bowl. But we knew that he basically had one of his worst years, and he dropped so many passes. You know, I was pissed. I had a parlay this year that said that they were going to win the game by 7, and if he would have got that pass, they would have won by 7. The one he missed, and they lost the game because he couldn't reel it in, and just kind of figured that that wasn't a big surprise. But to get rid of him, it's $12 million they save in cap space and $2 million dead money. So I don't think that they losing any sleep over that.
I'm not either. Is Scanlon a number one receiver? No. Is Scanlon a number two receiver? No.
No,
Is Scanlon a number 3 receiver? Maybe.
on the
Maybe.
cusp.
Maybe. But that being said, remember this time last year, didn't they cut Juju? And they didn't seem to be no worse for wear for that. Juju went
They
elsewhere,
did,
and what did he do?
but I feel like they didn't want to. They wasn't gonna overpay Juju, and I understand.
And they shouldn't have for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
What did Juju do this year?
What Juju always do when he don't have nobody that's disguise him, a la Antonio Brown, a la, you know, when Marquez Valdez Scantling was playing decent.
Right.
Yeah, he always had that person
Remember,
who got the
it was
attention.
other wide receivers on that squad that made up for
Hmm.
what he wasn't doing.
Then I know you heard about Tampa Bay. You know, when they released Pro Bowl outside linebacker Shaq Barrett. What was your thoughts on them releasing Shaq Barrett?
I'm not quite sure what Tampa Bay's plans are. I don't know if they're thinking they're on the verge of getting better or basically they overachieved last year and they want to maintain status quo or they kind of want to start it over but keep some of the major pieces. I don't know what the plan is for Tampa Bay, so I really don't understand the thought process behind that. I mean, you
Because
would
you know
think
how good Shaq Barrett is.
defensively they should want to sign that defense because that's what helped them win more so than that offense.
In the first.
Right,
Absolutely.
but then at the same
Absolutely.
token, it looks like they're trying to sign Mike Evans again. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the thinking was behind it.
Yeah, because they're going to lose some key pieces trying to figure out what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, man. And I believe they better make some moves because just the Shaq Barrett alone is going to have other teams smiling, man. It's going to be so many people in line. Well, I guarantee you this, E, within that first hour of free agency, he will already be signed within that 15, 20-minute mark.
You think him that good, huh? I definitely
Know him
say
that.
sometime in the first couple days, most definitely. I don't know if he's like the first or second person signed. I wouldn't go that far, but he
I
definitely
believe
somebody
he
I would
will.
put on a priority list.
I definitely would because he's an outside linebacker who can play outside and defensive end. And not only that, he's really a good defender and he's good in the trenches. He's a team leader. I think it's going to be more or less for like a younger team, and depends on who have money too. E, because like you said, as far as the contender goes, I don't think they're going to try to throw out that type of money because they're trying to keep all the money they could and just take the risk on what they could get in the draft. So I think it's going to be a team that's on the cusp to surprise you and get him. Depends on how much money out there, and unfortunately he might go to a team like the Patriots or the Commanders, because they got money to throw around. But
Or he might
I wanted,
basically want to work with a team that's willing to work with him, but yet is on the cusp. Like a Houston Texans, for instance. Very good fit he would be there. And he might be willing to take a little bit of a discount to play on a team that's in contention.
yeah, because they've been saying the same thing about Xavier Howard. That's been more or less coming out period because he lives in that area, and he would like to go home and he would like to continue his career
Right. And
there.
then we always have to
Yeah,
remember
you
states
know, I
like
have to look.
Texas. Remember, states like Texas don't have no state income tax. That's definitely something you got to think about.
Yeah, he could he actually up too. I wanted to hit you with something new came out too. I didn't think nothing was gonna be happening. Two things actually came out. It might be outside, and I think he might be gone. Growing optimism, the Chiefs will re-sign defensive lineman Chris Jones. He said that right now they're trying to get an extension in place before the start of free agency for Chris Jones, and they saying they're making it clear, they prioritizing the new deal, and things look good on both sides. I mean, it may or may not happen. It's just words and speculations, but to hear that, man, what do you think about that as far as the Kansas City going back or trying to three-peat, and what would this do as far as to help their chances?
It really depends on how important we feel like he is in the process. We already know Kansas City is levels, okay? Patrick Mahomes on a level all by himself. Got to keep him happy no matter what. Then you got that second tier. That's where your Travis Kelce's, your Chris Joneses, those people rely. Uh, it's kind of hard not to be happy if you Travis Kelsey right now. You own the world. Your personal life aside, you in a good place. When it comes to Chris Jones, you know he done had some feelings about KC. And then of course there's that report that came out in the last couple of days talking about the fact that some of the players are not happy with the facilities there in Kansas City
Yeah,
because it
one of
was
the
said
worst
that
facilities.
it was said that when they went to practice in the LA Raiders, well the Las Vegas Raiders facilities, a lot of them was like, wow, this look way better than our junk. What's going on? We 3-time
Yeah,
champions. Why we get treated like this?
did you hear that they're the second from the last as far as the grades go when it comes
Yeah,
to like facilities and training and like the restaurants and stuff? I think Miami's number one. The Vikings are in the top four. We're in that top 10 cusp area, but yeah, they're second from the last. I think one of the last teams, which I think that was the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think they gave them an F minus on the grade.
basically they said, let's put it this way: Kansas and Kansas State, the college football teams, have better training facilities than the Chiefs. It's that bad.
That's pretty sad, man. Definitely when you're a team of that caliber too. Yeah, I definitely feel like shame on you. Yeah, it's good to win Super Bowls, but when you're that bad, and then I just think that they said that too, as far as New England was one of those worst teams too, and I think more or less than anything that a lot of that'll be cleaned up because we know now that the hoodie's not going to be there anymore. And then I know somebody took a shot at him recently when they said, "How do you feel about and explain one of the new things that's going on with the New England Patriots and what you think's the improvements on New England?" And I believe the new general manager said, you don't have to worry about it being more of a hard ass mentality or, it's not going to be as hard ass as it used to be. We're trying to make it to the point that we have everybody on the same team and trying to change our culture.
I think the Patriot way is dead. I also think, and here's my take, I don't think Belichick coming back, period. I think he's
No,
done.
I don't see that.
We'll see him in
How do
Canton in
you
a few
feel?
weeks.
How do you feel too, E, that they already didn't plug Geno Smith in because at first they were saying that they're trying to get him a new well, they got his new contract. I mean, let me apologize on that. He had his new contract, but I think that a lot of people thought that he might be a cap casualty or anything because you know how some of these contracts are, man. If you guys don't know, look at spotrack.com and it'll show you how cutthroat the NFL contracts are. I can sign a 5, 6 year contract in the NFL and it could be a year or maybe 2 years before they can opt me out of that contract. I can't opt out, but if I play okay that first year, then they like, okay, he have another year, and then I play well, but not enough to their expectations. If we're like one of them teams that on the cusp of making the Super Bowl, if we went to the conference championship one year, and then the next year I just get us to the first round, and then we don't make it to the playoffs, yeah, your contract can be void, man, and it's very cutthroat. But to see the Seattle already was saying that he'll be on their roster and here and their future plan for 2024. I mean, I'm not a huge Seattle fan whatsoever, but definitely happy for Geno, man, because and I know what he's been through.
Don't be surprised if they pick up somebody in those later rounds in terms of quarterback. And basically, Geno is pretty much the placeholder for another year or two until they get that person together.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be because I know that just the whole situation when they first got Russ, man. We didn't think Russ was gonna come out and just start like that, man. Because they had Matt Flynn, coming from Green Bay. I'm gonna go old school on it for the people who probably not educated to know that. I'm not even gonna say not educated and be disrespectful, but to say people who wasn't familiar with the situation. That Matt Flynn, that's when we was at like a crossroad with the Lions. We wasn't not really that good, but we wasn't really bad neither. And I believe Aaron Rodgers didn't play, and that guy had how many like 4 or 5 touchdowns or something crazy like that. And then they had him get a decent amount of money in free agency. Oh,
It was
6?
6 touchdowns. It was 6.
Mm,
I would not
Jesus.
forget that.
And 6 touchdowns. So yeah, he ended up going to the Seattle Seahawks, but then he was missing in action, man. That's one thing I did like about Pete Carroll, and that's what he brought to that team that gave them that nastiness and that attitude. He said, I don't care who you are, how much money you sign for, everybody plays for a position on my roster. And remember, they number one cornerback ended up getting released because Richard Sherman took his position, and then Russell Wilson took Matt Flynn's position, and it was just a whole new crazy culture. And that's when the arrival of the city of boom. So yeah, man, I don't think they'll never have that greatness again or to never get to that level. But I definitely see what they're trying to do over there. And I'm really kind of surprised too, man, that you don't have Pete Carroll making any more decisions on the sidelines. Yeah, he was going to be in a big office and he's one of the big wigs now, but it's just really weird not to see that he's not going to be doing the impact that he made on the sidelines.
I don't know how long he'll stay in that position. I think that man loves football too much just to sit there and just watch it. Basically, he's a football lifer for real. I mean, think about the type of energy that man had at 72 years old. We could only wish that either one of these presidential candidates had that type of energy for real.
I agree. How do you feel about now that we heard all this stuff about what's going on with your man's Chris Jones? Now, I just seen it just popped up on my phone. Reportedly, it's 6 teams now that's showing interest in L'Jarius Sneed. Now, man, they trying to pull the trigger now.
Hey, I ain't mad at it. Keep them, trade them.
And they
I
saying
think
the
they are on
Falcons.
the way.
They say the Falcons one of the front runners too.
Definitely keep your eye on the Falcons in these next couple weeks. They definitely seem like they are trying to make some moves. It's just a question of when and how it's going to happen. We already know their interest in Justin Fields, for example, but I
Oh
definitely see
yeah,
them making some significant moves these next few weeks.
because and I know I felt like, remember, I was saying I wouldn't be surprised if they come out of that division and they was just a good quarterback or a half decent quarterback away from, coming out of that division. Just didn't work out that way. But yeah, I was just really surprised to see how poor the quarterback play was. And then I believe a lot of it had to do with Arthur Smith losing his job. And so as my man's Ron Rivera, they both lost their jobs because it was guys I think that they picked, and both of them picked second round quarterbacks, and they wasn't quite ready for that spotlight, and they didn't play up to the expectations that they had for them. Therefore, they were on the outside looking in. But yeah, man, I definitely feel like if they had a pretty good quarterback, man, except for trying to focus on Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke, man. I ain't gonna keep throwing his name in the mud, but it feels good though. But yeah, that's all I'm saying.
We told y'all about that dude Heineken. Don't even get me started. Shout out to my man Coach V, Coach Will. What up, though? Y'all know what it is.
Yeah, man. And as far as that go, that's most of the stuff that I had as far as the NFL and the rumors and things, what was going on. I haven't heard anything really leak out. I told you those things because we've been on the air, and I ain't been looking at the combine right now to see or hear any news. But most of that stuff will pop up, man. And when it do, I'll be definitely giving y'all that information on my platforms.
Well, since we at that point, you might as well tell them about your platforms where they can find you.
All right. You can go on Instagram as Hoovy, and then my link tree has everything as far as what I'm doing. My Gmail is on sportsguru to you at gmail.com. Sports Guru to you is my Facebook page. And then I have my TikTok is Hugh.Lee6. And then, of course, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I do the Guru's Perspective. And that's on Spotify. Definitely appreciate all the love and support too, man. My numbers have been definitely going up. I've been getting a lot of listeners and people interested in what I have to say. And I'd like to say thank you all. And I thank you, E, for the advertisement and definitely helping giving me, like the promotions and promos that I can put up and, to get people involved and keep their interest.
Absolutely. We got more coming down the pipeline as time goes on. Keep in mind, y'all, we now have this show as its own separate entity. So if you want to hit up Hugh in regards to any of the content, some of the things you want him to cover, basically give him some of your questions that you would like for him to answer on the air. So we're gonna start doing some of that soon as well. You can hit him up, like you said, on the IG, on his IG at Hoovy. That's WHOOVI. You can also hit him up in his inbox at Dale Lee or at Sports Guru to you in the inbox and get back to him that way. And of course, if you can't reach him in those other ways, you can always hit up the Nighthawk Network page or my inbox and we can get in touch with him as well. So that being said, that will end this week's version of the Google Sports Perspective. As always, you thank you for your inputs and insights, and
Appreciate
we'll
that.
catch y'all on the flip. Deuces, baby. Throw them up, you.